Right. This will be a funding your study abroad experience presentation. First with me, my name is Chris Hicks. I'm with the Global Education Office. I work with our upperclassmen semester exchange programs. We also have Dan Frank here from Office of Financial Aid, as well as Megan Burning from the Office of Fellowships to talk about options for funding. So again, you haven't already, please check in using the QR code at the bottom left hand of your screen. Go ahead and start. Okay, so first a little bit about the Global Education Office or the Study Abroad Office. We have over 200 programs all around the world, and they're a mix of programs, short-term, long-term, group programs, individual. We'll get into in the next couple of slides. They're all over the world, 60 plus countries and partner institutions all over, Asia, Africa, the Americas, all over, and 30 plus internship opportunities. And in a normal year, our office alone disperses about $500,000 in GEO scholarships to study abroad participants. Some of the program options here. Mason-led programs. These are programs where a Mason professor takes a group of Mason students abroad and they study a specific topic. For example, EU security in Brussels or human trafficking in Zanzibar. They're usually over summer break or winter break, but we do have some semester-long programs. They're at Oxford and Florence. These are Mason programs, so the courses do count for Mason credit, so GPA credits all transfer back. In fact, it's just a Mason course you're enrolled in. The other option, partner schools, those are the programs I work with directly. These can be summer, but are primarily semester or year-long programs. These are programs where you enroll as an international student at that partner school after going through the GEO application process. And there, instead of studying a specific topic, you basically, as an international student, you just register for courses from the partner school's course catalog. And again, 60 plus partner institutions all over the world. Almost every continent. Yeah. And also our third category, global internships. Mostly over the summer, but plenty of semester options there as well, where you live and work abroad. We work with partners in 20 plus locations. If you want to do your own internship, build your own internship, or work with a provider to help place you. Another option. All right, costs and funding. So financial aid. In general, study abroad is eligible for financial aid. You just need to make sure that you mark yes, do you plan to use financial aid for your program when you're applying to study abroad, and then meet with a financial aid counselor to discuss your particular aid package. For most programs through GEO, there is a $200 non-refundable application fee that's paid directly through our Mason Abroad application portal. And most of the remaining charges for the full program fees, no matter if you're doing an internship, direct enroll program, or exchange, Mason-led, those fees, the remainder of the fees would be paid on your Mason student account. Costs can vary greatly from program to program, whether you're talking a full semester or a couple weeks in France or in Mexico. A lot of factors at play, so most affordable options can depend on your individual situation. So, talking about the types of scholarships available, there's kind of three different buckets. The first, I mentioned it previously, the GEO scholarships. Those are the scholarships we give out about $500,000 in a given year normally. These can be found on our website. If you go to masonabroad.gmu.edu, there'll be a study abroad scholarship section, and you'll see GEO scholarships. There'll be a handful of scholarships you can apply to, just like you're applying to a study abroad program, just for a scholarship. The second bucket is Mason scholarships. These can be your current aid package, financial aid package, or merit scholarships. These are usually applied seamlessly to most study abroad programs, but again, check with financial aid as you go through the study abroad application process just to see how it might apply. And then the third bucket is kind of this jungle of external fellowships and grants. We'll have someone speak more on these options later on, but these are things like the Gilman Scholarship, Osborne Awards, I think of the Critical Languages Scholarship, or other scholarships that are offered by third-party organizations that help support students looking to study abroad. We have a small listing on our website of a few you might want to look into, but again, it's a big world out there, so checking Google, see what else is out there. There's a number of opportunities, even through host country embassies might have scholarship awards available to study in that home country. Okay, so most affordable options, like I said, these will vary on what your particular situation is, but generally internships, you can build your own where you pay your in-state tuition plus the required $60 travel insurance for all students going abroad through GEO. And these programs do not have the $200 application fee in advance. Travel grants are provided depending on how many credits you plan to do for your internship. Virtual internships, also another option where you pay in-state tuition. And then another option is a paid internship through Thailand's TESOL certification teaching training internship. Buenos Aires, 3 housing options. You can choose that can vary the pricing, excuse me, if you're looking for private accommodations or shared accommodations. And again, the cost of living in a place like Argentina or Ecuador can save you a ton of money when compared to a place like the DC metro area or another study abroad location like London or Paris. For semester exchanges, some of the more affordable options, depending on your individual situation. Again, if you're an in-state student, an exchange program is probably the best option, as you would just pay your regular tuition rates. So if you're an out-of-state tuition or out-of-state student, you're kind of locked into the out-of-state tuition when you go on an exchange program. These are where a student comes from the partner school and we send a student to the partner school. So everyone just pays their homeschool tuition. For those out-of-state students, we might recommend a direct enroll option where you still go through GEO and you pay your study abroad program fees through GEO. But this just means the direct enroll is that it's one direction. We only send students out. So it is generally more expensive than in-state tuition, but much more affordable than out-of-state tuition. And then the third option, Mason Korea. Again, it's a unique option there, but you would just pay your Mason tuition rates as normal. Now, these are longer term, typically fall or spring semester. So keep that in mind when thinking of affordability. If you currently live at home and you're suddenly paying for housing, or if you have a job and you have to take full semester off versus a couple weeks. The final program bucket would be Mason-led programs. And these are more affordable short-term programs. You pack a lot into a couple weeks. This might be better for those who are working. It can only take a certain amount of time off. But one of the highlighted programs there is Spanish language program in Quito, Ecuador, or conservation storytelling in Nepal. That is a winter. Those are winter programs, whereas the summer program, we have one program in Puerto Rico called the 51st State, or Italian language and culture in Siena. These are some of the more affordable options for Mason-led break programs. Again, it depends very much on where you go. A program in a place like Ecuador and Nepal is going to be much different from France or Western Europe, or even some place like Japan, Tokyo. Right, and should be able to play a video here. One of our study abroad alums from the Thailand paid teaching internship is not able to join us today, but she did leave video testimonial. So we'll
in Thailand. So I taught English there. And I applied for the document and scholarship. So for that scholarship, I submitted 2 references and then personal statements. One recommendation. So I actually
Sorry about that.
Chris, if you go on the next slide, it should be bigger.
Nope.
And I
All
think
right.
you might be able to make it full.
There we go.
Yeah, make it full screen, I think, too.
All right, we'll give that another shot.
So I taught English. So for that project, I submitted 2 references and then I submitted one personal statement as well. One recommendation I have, so I actually submitted that for the Internships Scholarship. So that's 2 rates of it. And Internships Scholarship is the rates. Scholarships. Sure, same that I think other site ones. That's very emotional about it because it's making you as well as
Okay. So it does bring up a good point. To apply for these scholarships, you do need program application open for regular study abroad. But as the deadlines for scholarships are typically earlier than the program deadlines, definitely check those out now, as I believe, at least for the fall term, those are actually coming up on March 1st. Wow. So moving on to the next section, I want to introduce Dan Frank, Senior Assistant Director with the Office of Student Financial Aid. And he will go through the next section on financial aid.
Thank you, Chris. All right, so let's go over financial aid. Chris, I'm going to have you do me a favor. I'm going to have you just go right to the second slide. So we're going to go over kind of the nuts and bolts of what we're going to go over real quick tonight. I do not want to put too much on your shoulders. I know you guys are talking about scholarships, really, and I want you to focus on that first. The biggest thing right now I want you to look at and just listen to the different parts of how financial aid will work and how it will work for you. And what kind of things do you need to just keep an eye out for? So the things tonight we'll go over is what will my aid pay for exactly when it comes to my study abroad? What are the steps to securing aid for my trip? Do I need to meet with my counselor if I'm planning to use financial aid? What if I have military benefits or college savings plans I'm going to be using? How does financial aid work for external or non-Mason programs or independently arranged international education travel? When am I going to be billed for the winter or spring break or summer programs? And can I use financial aid during the summer for using it for study abroad? And what if I take other courses as well at the same time? So that is the agenda. That's what I'm going to go over for you real quick. So Chris, I'll have you go to the next slide. All right. This here is one of the pages that I stole from the Global Education Office. This is the budget page. For in this particular case is the fall semester for Finland and University of Helsinki semester. And you see at the top there, you have the budget item and you see the application fee for $200. That's when you pay for your deposit. But then you see those next 2 items, you have the administrative fee and you have the George Mason tuition and mandatory fees. You notice that those are in the billable section, as it says the billable subtotal. When you see that billable subtotal, that is what you're going to see on your student bill for this particular program. So if you're going to be doing a fall semester or a spring semester, and it's going to be the full length semester, there's not going to be any extra courses you're going to be taking at Mason. This is what you would see on your student bill. Now, summer is going to be a little different because you'll see these same fees for your global ed trip, but let's say you're going to be taking other courses during the summer as well. Well, Mason has, especially the financial aid office, starting on April 1, you can fill out a summer aid request form. The nice part is that as long as you are accepted to your program with GEO for your program in the summer, what'll happen is they're actually going to send me a roster, and I am going to start working on that roster probably starting on March 15th and forward. I'm going to be looking at students that are going to be attending that are accepted and confirmed that they're going to be going somewhere in the summer to set up your financial aid profile for you. So I'm going to start working that starting in late March into April. But one of the things I recommend is to definitely reach out to financial aid to talk to you about all of your options that are available. We kind of can go over estimates right now, just based on what you know about your program. So when you come to ask us, hey, I'm studying abroad, I'm like, that's great. So tell me when are you going to be studying abroad? Is it going to be the fall or is it the summer? And how many credits is it going to be for? So that is really going to be important, because for summer, remember, to be eligible for financial aid, you have to be attending half-time. So that is a big, big thing for us. All right. So those other items you see here on the bottom, the non-billable items, know that these are other expenses you're going to incur more than likely in some way or another. These are just averages, okay? The biggest one I want you to look at here is the airfare. So when it comes down to your airfare, I'm talking about your plane ticket, of course. So that's something that's not going to be initially covered by financial aid. So when it comes down to it, these are things I want you to be saving up for, putting away now. If you're going to be looking at the summer, you probably already have applied for your summer aid program or your summer program for GEO. Be looking into airfare. Your counselor within GEO is going to notify you when you should be looking at purchasing those airline tickets and those other items if needed as well. All right, Chris, I'll have you go to the next slide. All right, so what would my anticipated balance be? So we went over that billable section. So if you have your GEO tuition and fees, you'll see your bill there. That's going to be your billable costs. Then you're going to subtract away from that what financial aid you're going to have that's going to be coming in. So like things like grants and things like that, if you do have any other grants coming in. From there, you have your net balance. You can look at things like student loans, if you have student loans, or if we need to search for others. Summer is one of those semesters. If you used all of your loans between last fall and this spring, you might not have any available for this academic year. So you might have to look for other means. So it's very, very important, especially if you're looking in the summer, to make sure that you're paying attention to your student bill, make sure that you're reaching out to financial aid, make sure you're completing that summer aid request form, because that is how we can notify you when your award offer is ready. So this way you can go online and see, okay, do I have enough funds for this upcoming semester, or do I need to search for other funds? And this is how you're going to be able to do it. You're going to have to wait for that email. But the one thing is that for summer is one of those semesters you definitely want to reach out to us just to make sure you have all your eggs in a row, or I should say all your eggs in one basket, making sure that everything is ready to roll for the upcoming summer semester. So that way you're not incurring any other unexpected costs. All right, so next slide. So steps to follow for financial aid information. So first, you're going to be applying, get accepted to the program you want to attend for study abroad. GEO will provide me in financial aid. So I'm the one person that will receive that roster of all students that are accepted and confirmed to attend. Once I start working on that list, like I said, I'll start getting things together, but I start processing everything on April 1. That is the first day we can start processing summer financial aid in our office. I'll determine your cost of attendance. I'll reach out to you. If I see that there's something that's quite not looking right or anything like that, you'll always hear from me. So I will email you if I ever see anything. But the moment we get your financial aid set up for the summer semester, you're going to receive an email from our office, and it will say something as plain as, you have been awarded financial aid for the summer semester. Please log into your Patriot Web. Here are the instructions, and it'll list the instructions. From there, that's what I wanted to make sure that you focus on, and just as long as you're paying attention to your emails, and personally for me, as long as you're looking at your email every single day, at least once a day, you're not going to miss an email from us. And you won't miss that communication telling you when to look into your financial aid for that summer semester or for the upcoming fall. And that way we can make sure that if you have any questions, address them with us then. This way we can make sure that you have plenty of time to get things taken care of before your trip. And as you can see there at the bottom, 10 days prior to the start of the semester, that is when your financial aid will actually pay. So for the fall semester, if you start on the same day, for example, Mason Korea will start on the exact same day that our Mason fall semester here will start. There are different programs that start after our initial start here at Fairfax. So if I see that you start after that date, I will put a hold on your account, but it's nothing that's going to be detrimental to you. The only thing I have to do is I have to make sure that I have to follow federal rules when it comes to federal aid. And federal aid tells me that I cannot release financial aid until 10 days before you start classes. So that goes into the summer as well. So if you start, instead of you're not starting in May, let's say your program runs in June, and that's going to be the first time you're going to be attending classes. Your aid, I will make sure that there's a hold on the account, but it's just preventing disbursement. It's not going to prevent if you want to add another class or if you want to change things around, not going to be a detrimental hold. It's just making sure that your aid does actually will pay on time for you. Okay, so next slide. All right, so what if I'm planning to use other methods? So if you're looking at, if you know that you have military benefits, GI Bill, yellow ribbon, get in touch with the Military Services Office, the military@gmu.edu. If you're planning on using a college savings plan, like a 529 plan, make sure you're reaching out to the student accounts office directly for how to proceed. And you can see that their email is there below. You just go to studentaccounts.gmu.edu. You'll be able to click on their contact link and that'll take you right there as well. When you are, all right, so I'll go to the next slide. All right, so external programs. This is a tricky one, and this is what I was trying to get to because it takes a little bit of time to talk about. And I'm going to try to sum it up. The Global Education Office has a lot of different programs you can choose. Sometimes you find a program that is not listed on their site and you apply for it and you go through maybe an outside organization. These are one of those that you want to be in touch with financial aid as soon as possible when you're applying to these programs, because where GEO will work through the process of making sure the classes you're going to take, it's an easier process for them to make sure things are managed, billed, etc. When you attend an external program, know that you're going to be paying out of pocket up front. All right, that is one thing to know. Because we can try to get you all your financial aid set up, but it's a little bit longer of a process called a consortium. It's where you're going to have to get paper signed from you, and then you're going to have to send it to that other institution, then back to you, then to us. But there'll be other things you have to do, such as making sure all of your coursework that you plan on taking will actually be counted towards your program and has to go through your department and then the registrar. But for me, for the financial aid process, I have to monitor all that. Before I can even offer you financial aid, all of that stuff has to be done, which I'll help walk you through. Just know that these outside programs, if you do plan on taking one of these programs that are not offered through GEO, make sure that you get in touch with me right away so we can start working on that process. All right, next slide. So there's all these are different types of the short-term programs. You have a winter study abroad, a spring break study abroad, as well as a summer study abroad. I know that they're still accepting, I'm not sure if they're accepting applications for spring break still. Winter, of course, has already passed because that was done right at the beginning of the new year. But they're looking at summer study abroad. That's the big one that's coming up. When it comes to summer, like I said, you'll be looking at your program, you'll be applying, you'll be accepted to your program if you're accepted. If you're an undergraduate, this is important. If you're an undergraduate, the summer abroad program, if it is less than 6 credit hours for that program, no, I'm not going to be able to offer you any financial aid for that. If you're attending a program that is 6 credit hours, or if you take other classes at George Mason during the summer that equal a total of 6 credit hours as a total, then you can possibly be eligible for financial aid. But this is one where if you want to reach out to our office, let us know you're planning to study abroad in the summer. Tell us how many credit hours your program is for and which program you're looking at going, because that will actually help us be able to look up a little bit more information on that program for you. But just know that if the number you tell us, it's only going to be 3 credit hours. If you plan on taking other classes, make sure you let us know that as well, because this will allow us to help determine what kind of aid options are going to be available to you. All right, next slide. Anything else that may be important? So for me, for financial aid purposes, not even just talking about study abroad, but especially for those who are studying abroad, communication is key. I will be emailing, you should be emailing, and we both need to be reading those emails and responding in kind. So if we email you asking you a question or asking you to take care of something or letting you know that, hey, you're going to have a balance due, or, here are your different options. How would you like to proceed? please respond to that email. It's very, very important for me communication wise, because if I see that you're having issues, I can be a bouncing board. I can also help reach out to GEO for you as well. You can reach out to GEO, of course, directly as well, just to make sure that you have everything you need taken care of. In terms of you taking your schedule, making sure you work with your advisor in GEO is very important as well, making sure that you follow all the steps that they have for you, including when you are finished with your program, submitting that final transcript back to Mason so they can be applied to your undergraduate transcript. The last one is that after the spring semester, and this is more important for the upcoming summer, after every spring semester, our office runs what's called satisfactory academic progress. Now, this is where those students that are using financial aid, we have to make sure that starting after the fall semester, or sorry, after the spring semester, are you still eligible to use financial aid? And we determine this by 3 methods. Okay, there's 3 things that we have to look at in anybody that is using grants or loans or they have a FAFSA file. 1, you have to have a GPA as an undergrad of a 2.0. Your completion rate, this is where it's tricky. Your completion rate is your total amount of your total amount of attempted credit hours divided by the completed credit hours. So let's say you started the spring semester, you take 12 credit hours, you completed 6. Well, you haven't been here at all any other time. You didn't transfer any transfer credits, so you have completed 50%, 6 out of 12 credits. So your record would say you're at 50%. So you would not be meeting financial qualifications starting in the summer. As long as you meet your qualifications for financial aid, we will be able to make sure to just roll everything forward. Everything is kind of seamless for you. If, for example, if there's any reason you're not meeting this program for satisfactory academic progress, you will be contacted by our office. But for example, if you know that your GPA might be an issue or your completion rate percentage may be an issue, take a look at those undergraduate transcripts or reach out to our office and say, hey, just making sure that I'm in good standing because I'm looking at studying abroad. We can take a quick look. It takes 3 seconds for us to take a look for that and get you an answer back. And so the biggest thing is like that last one. And if you ever have questions, please always let us know. All right, so next slide. This is our contact page. I'm going to be the first person to tell you don't call. Don't call our office because the last thing I want you to do is be on hold. All right, there's that contact link that's there at the bottom. If you are walking around on campus, you can stop by our office anytime, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You'd be seen by somebody that same day. I always feel weird telling people not to call our office, but the last thing I want you to do is ever be on hold. And if you have the ability to get on, write an email, send it to us, you're going to get a response back within that day or 24 hours. And when you get that response back, whatever question you had, it's now written down for you. And it's something you can keep a subfolder in your email and just keep track of those answers and questions that you had. So something to refer back to. Whereas a lot of people, for example, when I talk to somebody that is on the phone, usually about 15 minutes into the conversation, the person was like, let me get my pen. So they haven't listened, they haven't written anything down. They'll call back tomorrow. So I don't want that to worry about happening to you. So if you email us, trust me, you'll get a quick response back. And I think, Chris, that's the end of my slides.
Yeah, yes. So right now,
All right.
thank you.
And I'll jump in the chat. I'll see if there's any questions for me there. So
yeah, we'll go on now to student perspective. Joan, who attended our Rwanda Genocide Healing and Reconciliation Program in the winter. Kelly will unmute her if she's able to
jump in.
jump in. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I am excited to be here. My first message to all of you is apply for a scholarship, because the worst thing that they could say to you is no. And the best thing that they'll say to you is they'll give you an award. And I'm that small person in the middle of that photo that you see right now, taken literally about 5 weeks ago at this point in time. There's 13 of us that went on this program. At least 2 of us had a scholarship. Mine was a small scholarship, but I am appreciative of that. And there was another doctoral student who had a much more substantial scholarship And I could tell you what Dan said, they are very good about letting you know about scholarships opportunities. It was not something that I was even considering, but they do send out a lot of emails and they're very good about their communication. The scholarship that I had to fill out was pretty easy to do. And you can go back to it, sort of like a college application based on what my kids did, because I'm at the other end of the spectrum here for students. But it's a great opportunity. It was going to help alleviate some of the financial pressure for you. They do send you lots of emails. They will follow up, and they do respond to emails very quickly. I didn't have to go through a lot of the consultations that Dan was talking about for mine because it was much smaller, but it was really easy to do. You learn about your award. I think it is about 2 weeks before you go on the trip. I was aware of what that amount is, and it was credited toward my spring semester. So it's do it. I mean, the worst thing they could say is no. It's not that time consuming. They're pretty relevant questions for what they ask. And this is such a great opportunity studying abroad. I graduated from college 35 years ago, so I'm back in grad school, and I never did a study abroad in undergrad, and I'm doing it in grad school, and I did it in grad school. So it's a great opportunity, and don't throw money away. If they are willing to award you for your studies and your work, it's a great opportunity, and the information is easy, it's understandable, and I don't know what else I could tell you other than just do it, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Joan, for sharing your experience. And there we go. And so now we'll move on to the third portion of the program, with the Office of Fellowships. Let me introduce Megan Bruning, the Director of Fellowships here at Mason.
Thank you, Chris. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Megan Bruning. I use she, her pronouns, and today I'm here to talk to you just a little bit about, as Chris called it, the jungle of external funding. So the Office of Fellowships here at Mason helps currently enrolled students and alumni apply to external, nationally competitive awards. That word external simply means that the money does not come from Mason. It comes from a government agency, a charity or nonprofit, right? It's not an internal scholarship, so outside of Mason. And nationally competitive, we just put that in there to be transparent, right? That you are competing with other students around the country for these awards. So it's not a guarantee that you'll receive, the funding you apply for, but we still think that it is worth your time. And I'll tell you why in a few moments. So there are many different kinds of fellowships. And one of the most popular kinds are the ones I'm talking about today, the ones that provide partial or full funding to go study abroad. Up here on the screen, I have 4 of the most popular study abroad fellowships that Mason students apply to and receive every year. Now, these 4 awards that I've got up here right now do all require U.S. citizenship. If you do not have U.S. citizenship, there are a limited number of awards available to you, and we in the office will help you locate them. Those awards are often more country-specific. The ones I'm talking about here can be applied to multiple or different kinds of destinations. The first one we've got up here, as we mentioned already, the Gilman Scholarship, sponsored by the U.S. government. This is for students who receive a federal Pell Grant. And the idea behind this award is to help students go abroad, earn credits, or do an internship, and to help them cover costs that they might not otherwise be able to cover. I believe we have a Gilman alum actually in the audience tonight. So if you want to hear more about what that experience is like, I'm sure they'll be happy to speak up. Next is the Critical Language Scholarship. This is a summer opportunity. You do need to apply the fall before. CLS gives you the chance to go overseas for a couple of months with a small group of students and learn a language that is critical to the Department of State, and it's typically not offered at Mason. So we've had students go overseas to learn Swahili, to learn Urdu, Korean. It's a really awesome immersive opportunity. Next, The last two awards are for longer periods of study abroad. The Fulbright U.S. Student Program allows you to go overseas for usually 8 to 10 months and either study, get a master's degree, do research, or work as an English teaching assistant. Many different options are available for the Fulbright, and it's a really amazing chance, like I said, to go abroad for an extended period of time. And finally, the Boren Awards. Like the Critical Language Scholarship, Boren is all about language. Boren gives you money to go overseas for usually an academic year and learn a language that the Department of Defense says is really important to them. So you go overseas, you learn this language, and when you return, you are immediately placed at a federal agency and are given employment. So if you're interested in working in national security, the Boren Awards could be a great option. I'll also add that Boren Awards, like I said, are usually, an academic year. There is a shorter option for STEM majors. So if you're not able to go overseas for a year and you're a STEM major, definitely reach out and talk to us because there can be a shorter option available to you. So there are many more fellowships besides the ones I listed here. Our job is to help you find the right one, right? Find the one that will give you the money you need when you need it. And we're also here to help you apply for the award. We don't abandon you after you found the opportunity. We give you feedback on the essays. We talk through with you on who to ask for recommendation letters. Again, step by step, we are here to guide you throughout the entire process. If you go to the next slide, Chris. Okay. Now, like I mentioned, there are a lot of different study abroad fellowships. So the eligibility or who can apply and the selection, who they want to award, those will vary, right? But there are a couple of general things that I can tell you now, right, to keep in mind. First, the fellowship application cycle is a pretty long one, right? It's usually at least 6 months, more often 12 months or 1 year. So for example, if you're planning on studying abroad, right, in the fall of 2024, you want to apply for fellowships in the fall of 2023, right? So you got to kind of plan well in advance when it comes to fellowships. Before you apply for a fellowship, it's really important that you pick where you want to go. A lot of fellowship applications, the questions are about why you want to go to this place and do this kind of stuff, right? So it's really hard if you come to the fellowship office and you don't know where you want to go. So definitely think about where you want to go, and that'll make it easier for us to help you find the right award. Third, fellowships do not always cover all study abroad expenses. The awards that I talked about and many others do try really hard to cover everything that you need, but it's important to read the fine print, right, for these awards. And that is also part of my job, right, is to help you translate and understand the conditions of an award so there are no surprises. You know what is being covered and what you may end up paying out of pocket. And lastly, although the applications for these awards do vary a lot, the best piece of advice I can give you is to be specific in your writing. It's really important that you explain why this particular country and why this program will help you achieve your academic and professional goals. Simply saying that you want to study abroad will not be enough for these applications. They want to know why Spain, right? Why Peru? How does this fit into what you want to do in the future? So that's kind of one piece of advice I can give about the application side of things. Go to the next slide. All righty, so contact info. How can you learn more about fellowships and find the right one for you? We are housed in the Johnson Center in Suite 228. It's got a big sign that says undergraduate education on it. The best way to get started working with us is to send us an email, pgfs@gmu.edu. We will get you set up with an advisor to have a one-on-one appointment and figure out, like I said, which award is right for you. We also are on Instagram and Twitter. @GMU Fellowships is specifically for undergraduate awards, and @GradFellows GMU is for graduate fellowships. I recommend that you give these a follow because we update these accounts to show when awards are due, right? When there's upcoming deadlines. So if you just kind of want to keep track of when things, are coming up, our social media accounts are a good way to do that. Also want to point out that I have walk-in hours. You don't need an appointment to come see me. If you're on Fairfax campus, I'm in the Center for Culture, Equity, and Empowerment every Monday from 1 to 4 p.m. If you're in Arlington, I'm there the last Thursday of the month from 11 to 2. And if you're in Manassas, I'm there the last Tuesday of the month from 1 to 4 p.m. If those times don't work for you, that's totally fine. Send us an email at pgfs@gmu.edu, and we'll set up that one-on-one appointment to help you get started on your fellowship's journey. All right. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so from the student perspective for the fellowships, let me introduce Scout Osborne, who will speak on their experience with the Gilman program in Mexico.
Hello. Sorry, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
All right, great. I am putting some contact info in the chat before I forget. But yeah, I'd love to share my perspective, just a couple minutes here to talk about the Gilman Scholarship, because it's really an amazing program. If you are eligible to apply, I highly recommend that you do. I went to Mexico in 2019 and I spent a semester there. And it was really awesome to kind of study Spanish, but also study culture and history and gastronomy, food culture, stuff like this in another country, and have it paid in large part by the Gilman Scholarship. But in addition to just the money, the financial aid, the Gilman program is really a program. It's a lot more than just the financial aid, which is pretty rare in a scholarship, I would say. Oh, thank you. A lot of scholarships are just, here's a donation of money, use it well, we believe in you. But Gilman is more so, here's this money to study abroad, use it well, we believe in you. And then when you return to the US, there are many more opportunities that you qualify for now, because this Gilman program is from the Department of State. And essentially, the Department of State is saying, we really like you, we want you to succeed. And so there are a lot of other opportunities. Since if you get the Gilman Scholarship, you become a Gilman alum. And by extension, you are a Department of State exchange alum. The same thing with Fulbright or other Department of State funded programs. Essentially, this lets you apply to other things such as there's a grant called the Citizen Diplomacy Action Fund for teams of alumni, such as Gilman alumni, where you can get a grant for up to $10,000 to do whatever you want to benefit your community. And the grant actually has a more than 50% acceptance rate. So that's sort of the thing that you're getting into if you get the Gilman Scholarship and become an alum by completing your program and then coming back to the US. So you can also do what I'm doing right now, is I'm an ambassador of the program. I think it's really important for people from underrepresented backgrounds to go abroad, because study abroad can be so useful. For me, I got to finish up my Spanish major and get a bunch of credits that way. But it's also a really amazing life experience and really good professional experience when I'm applying jobs, or when I did apply to jobs when I graduated. I was able to say, my communication skills and my creativity and problem solving were all benefited by my study abroad, where I was dropped into a completely new place to me. Sort of these things that are really useful and usually are only reserved for people who have a lot of disposable income to pay for it. But Gilman Scholarship is really about people who are Pell Grant eligible, who have financial aid, who are from low income backgrounds. And in particular, if you're from a rural area, or if you're a student of color, or if you're from first generation, these are things that Gilman is really looking for. And for me, it just was such a valuable experience when I was in Mexico. And now that I'm back in the States, it continues to be a really good network of other scholars and other alumni, I should say, and other opportunities. So it really is a program more so than simply a scholarship. But yeah, in the chat is my information. You can email me or text me. And then if you want to meet up with a Gilman ambassador, I unfortunately am in Chicago. And if you have Zoom fatigue, Kyla Denwood is a Gilman alumni ambassador. We both have been Gilman. We've both have gone abroad, and yeah, and you can add them to the chat. But if you wanted to meet up in person, I put Kyla's information there. She's a really amazing resource as well for all of the different grants and opportunities that you might be able to do after studying abroad. But yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Scout. Appreciate you sharing your experience. Right, so real quick, I just want to highlight one program coming up this summer. Again, summer programs, their application deadline is March 10th. So one to check out is Finnish Education System, Physical Activity and Sport Culture. That is one of the Mason-led programs. So a Mason professor will take a group of students, Mason students abroad. Very affordable program, one thing to check. Okay, so for the next 15 minutes or so, I did want to open the floor to questions. So the way we'll do it is you can put it in the chat if you want. Otherwise, if you can use the raise hand function, and we'll unmute you so you can ask out loud. And Kelly, if there are any, I don't see anyone raising their hand yet, but if there are any questions in the chat we want to go right to, you can do that.
I don't see any yet, but I'm sure people are typing.
Okay.
And as you're typing, I'm just going to put a couple of things into the chat for just reminder of everyone's email. Okay, there is a question for the Diversifying and Study Abroad Scholarship requires a letter of recommendation. I doubt I can get from a faculty member within a day. Can I submit a letter used for a previous application, like one for an internship? Beth, I think you may have addressed this question in the chat before, because I think someone else asked this.
I have. And so essentially you just have to make sure that you have a couple things that are going for you in order to do that. One, the recommendation that you submit needs to at least address a similar topic. Although, you know, most of what you're going to do is going to be addressing your academic performance and things like that, but it needs to at least be relevant. And secondly, I would check in with the faculty member or whoever wrote that initial recommendation and make sure that they've given you the thumbs up to go ahead and submit it for something else other than its original intended purpose. The odds that somebody's going to tell you no are probably pretty small, but I do think that just as a matter of courtesy, it's always a good idea to double check with any recommender before you utilize their recommendations for multiple things. But other than that, absolutely, please do not allow that to prevent you from submitting an application. If you have a recommendation out there, you get the thumbs up, it's even remotely relevant to what you're doing now, please go ahead and submit your application. I can't give you a scholarship if you don't apply. If you submit your application, at least you've got a chance.
I think the next question is, if you are accepted for your program, do you purchase your flight ticket through the school or by yourself? It does depend on the program. For most programs, then you would purchase it yourself after given green light for flight. Which shows my video. Is it on? Green light for flight email from your specific program, but it does depend on it, and you'll see under finances if it's listed whether it's a group flight or not, but most are not. And if you put in the chat, Brendan, if you put in the chat which specific program you're talking about, I think you had said before it might have been the Spain one. Yeah. So
yeah, it'll depend too on some programs. The ones I work with, semester-long partner programs, some require you to have a flight before you even apply for a student visa. But yeah, this looks like a Mason-led trip. So most Mason-led trips will have a green light for flight email. Oh, I just saw a question here from Peyton about the Featured Exchange Program grant. That is an automatic grant. So as long as you apply and get accepted to the program, meaning you meet the eligibility criteria and you commit to the program, that featured exchange program grant amount will get credited to your Mason student account. And these are featured because some of them are newer partners or some have just opened up new departments. So we're trying to make sure Mason students are aware of these great new opportunities. Good question. Someone's already checking out the scholarships page.
Yep, and just highlighting the build your own internship grant, same situation. You'll see it's highlighted on the scholarship page. You will get this grant if you apply for that program. There's a little bit of paperwork afterwards, but it's just to kind of diarize kind of thing. It's automatically approved. That's 500 to 1,000.
These things. Any more questions get trickle
Can I
through?
s-
Feel free to keep.
Can I say
Oh.
really quickly that if you are going to apply for the Milan Italian culture program this summer, the Italian media and culture program in Milan, there is a dedicated scholarship for that one called the Love KK Scholarship. We don't have that many applications for it at this juncture. We would like to give that money away. So please do put your application in for the Love KK Scholarship if you are doing the Italian media in Milan program.
So I just want to highlight a couple things have already been mentioned here. Summer, fall, and academic year program applications are open. Most of their deadlines are going to be March 10th for those terms. But again, the scholarship, Mason scholarship deadline is March 1st. So being here, you have a head start on getting our last minute chance to get a few scholarship applications in. As Scout mentioned, the Gilman application, that application deadline is March 9th. So everything's coming up right around now. And general scholarships that are not specifically for study abroad apply for the study abroad semester. Yes, so as Beth mentioned, one thing to keep in mind, financial aid mentioned this too. Most scholarships, if they apply based on your Mason student account, your fees are payable on your Mason student account for most of our programs. So check with your financial aid counselor or your scholarship organization to see what's required for that scholarship to apply. I might be speaking out of turn here. Dan might be able to correct me here, but some scholarships do require that Mason be the coursework organizer that delivers the coursework, and some scholarships may not recognize other like exchange programs. So depending on the scholarship, should apply.
The rule of thumb, and when it comes to any kind of funding or in general, it depends, and it depends on what it says. For example, like for a fall semester, if you have a Mason recognition scholarship, for example, but you do an external Mason abroad program, meaning Mason is not billing, you're not going to be able to use the scholarship. But if you have other outside scholarships and they don't have any rules, they just want to apply to your bill, or they have to apply to tuition and fees, they can apply to tuition and fees if it's a Mason abroad program because you're still being billed for them. So, and if they don't have rules that apply and you have additional that are coming in the summer, great, or even in the fall, etc., that apply to your bill. And I have students honestly right now that are getting refund checks because they have too much in scholarships, because their scholarship doesn't have any rules that apply to, as long as it's up to the student's cost of attendance, they can use it. So they're using it for every one of their billed items, and even getting it for their non-billed items as well, that they get a refund check for to use for those.
Thank you, Dan, for clarifying there. Like I say, it depends. So definitely look into your individual situation, reach out to those parties.
Yep. And how to check what courses Mason Korea offers. I'll just put Mason Korea's things in the chat, everything in the chat.
Yep. And they should also be on the schedule of classes if you just change your campus to Mason Korea. That's another option, or through the Mason Korea website.
Yep. Yeah, because you'll be able to register right through when you do your normal registration, you'll be able to register with Mason Career. So you should be able to view those courses online.
There we go.
I knew that question was coming. For the Gilman Scholarship, it talks about estimated financial aid amounts. Reach out to your financial aid counselor, but the big thing is, remember what I said before. Reach out to us, let us know your name, your G number, how many credits the program is for. Are you going to be taking any other classes in the summer, for example? That's the information we need to know to determine what kind of aid you have. You can go in entering 0. You can always go the safe route and enter 0, because once you finish the Gilman Scholarship and you submit it, eventually Gilman does reach out to one of the 3 counselors that are on the list. It'll either be myself, Dan Frank, Kevin Mayer, or our scholarship manager, which is Rosalind Moore. You select one of those 3 names. When you're finished, Gilman will reach out to us, complete the application for you. I would just go through with your best information, use your Patriot Web, see what financial aid, things like that you have available. And then you'll be able to answer those questions.
You see one attendee has raised their hand. So Anna, I will go ahead and unmute you. Feel free to ask the question.
Awesome, thank you. I was wondering, so it says here that the Gilman Scholarship, the deadline for March 9th is applied to May 1st, 2023 through April 30th, 2024. I'm looking to study abroad in, say, Mason, Korea, spring of 2024. Would I want to apply to this Gilman Scholarship, or would I want to do the one that's in October?
Well, Megan's still on the call.
Megan
think I
had
heard-
off the call in the past. I'm not 100% sure on that because she would know the best. I do know that there are times when people could apply for either one. She might be able to tell you if there's like a better strategy though for that, if they awarded it more different times. And I don't know if
I can,
Scout knows more.
yeah, I can jump in, but I couldn't quite hear you. I'm so sorry. What was the question?
Sorry. Well, let me see if, is this better?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I was wondering if it'd be better. So let's say I'm looking to apply in spring of 2023 or looking to study abroad in Mason, Korea, spring 2023. Would I want to apply to the Gilman Scholarship this round or the next round in October?
So you want to go in the spring of this year, or you mean next year?
Next year. Sorry, did I say 2020? I
So-
meant 2024.
Yeah, so I would say I don't know the start date of Mason Korea, but I would
Yeah.
say,
I can jump in and help you with that too.
is it
It's
before
it's
April?
middle of February. So it starts
Okay,
in the middle of
great.
February. So it's going to be before the end of the cycle. So it might be good
Yeah.
to apply for this year.
So what I'll say is that you can apply to Gilman multiple times. So I would really recommend try to apply by March 9. Try to get all of your ducks in a row. You need to talk to your financial aid advisor, as Dan was saying, and then also your try to get people to read your essays and all of this. But if you don't get it this round, you can apply again in October because you would still be eligible. So I would really recommend trying to do it by March 9. If you can't for whatever reason, you can still apply in October, but I would recommend applying as early as possible so you get 2 shots at it.
One of the things I'll throw out there too, because you're asking about next spring, which is good. I'm glad you're doing a year ahead. Know that we don't award financial aid for next year to returning students until the middle of June. Now, that one question that came earlier about estimated financial aid, if you fill out your FAFSA application, if you're going to be using something from the FAFSA, when you submit that FAFSA application, you're going to get what's called a student aid report, or an SAR. On that report, it's going to give you estimated, based on your information through your FAFSA, you should qualify for this, and it'll list amounts. That's what you can use for your estimated amounts when you're filling in that financial aid section. Like if you know you're going to utilize student loans, it'll tell you student loans, it'll tell you Pell Grant, it'll tell you the different federal grants that are going to be there. The one thing you won't know of is state grant money. And like I said, we can't give that information. There's no estimate that we can really give to a student because we don't do it until we actually do the awards in June. So I hope that helps.
Okay, just a quick note. Thank you for that clarification on Gilman. It is 7 o'clock, so that is the technical end of the program. We're going to stick around if anyone has any additional questions. I see one already with their hand raised, so we'll get to that one real quick. I just want to give everyone the chance. It is 7. Feel free to jump off. Again, take a look at our contact info there. If you're just getting started, goabroad@gmu.edu is our main email. But each program, if you're going through a Mason Abroad program through GEO, should have a program administrator, GEO program administrator dedicated to that program. So if you're going to Milan, there'll be a specific GEO program administrator there that should be on the website for that. Yeah, again, thank you all for joining, and we'll continue with questions if anyone wants to stick around. And I do see